These days, I'm so grateful that I get to travel around the world helping people in their homes. But 5 years ago, when I started this business, there was no roadmap for me to follow. So I just had to go for it and learn on the fly. I made some mistakes along the way, but ultimately those mistakes helped the Spacemaker method evolve into what it is today. I used to think that I could declutter for someone. I can't believe I used to think this way. That would absolutely never fly with me today, but you live and learn, right? If you go back and watch some of the older videos on the channel, not all of them, but in some of them, you'll notice that sometimes it's just me working, not me alongside my client, just me. That's something that I will never do again. And these days, if I'm working in someone's home, they always have to be present. And there are three main reasons for this. First, if the clients aren't there to work with you, they don't appreciate the work and they don't understand how hard the act of decluttering actually is, and they're more likely to treat you like their maid, and that can be really frustrating. Secondly, and more importantly, decluttering is not just something that you can hire a professional to come and fix for you. It's not like when your pipe breaks in your house, you just call a plumber and they'll come and fix it. Decluttering is not the same. I believe that if you got yourself to this point of clutter and chaos, then even if it's painful, you need to be the one to do the work to get yourself out. I'll work alongside you and I'm going to motivate you and point you in the right direction, but you need to face the emotions and the behaviors that led you to this point in your life. This is declutter therapy after all, and if you avoid that emotional work by having somebody else declutter for you, the clutter will probably just come back later. It's one thing to declutter for somebody, but it's so much more rewarding to empower somebody to take back control of their own home and their life. My clients are amazing people who, because of life and difficult circumstances, are feeling a bit overwhelmed and they're lacking in their confidence. And to me, there's nothing better than seeing their confidence grow. I want everyone I work with to become their own space maker so that when I'm not around, they're going to be ready for anything. What it comes down to is the transformation happens with them, not for them. My clients that I share with you on YouTube are getting my service free of charge, and we do this because I see it as an exchange. In exchange for opening their homes up for me to film and post these videos on YouTube, my work in their home is free. However, I do ask them to put down a deposit before we start working together, and I didn't used to do this whenever I first started, but this is a mistake that I definitely had to learn the hard way. In the early days, I had some clients who didn't take my services or my work very seriously. I had clients who would cancel repeatedly on me or kind of expect me to do all of the work for them. Or they never kept their homes clean in between my visits, which would mean that I always had to clean up their home before I started working again, and often redoing the work I had already done. What I learned from these experiences is that when a client has nothing on the line, they lack motivation. So if they're feeling anxious about decluttering that day, which always happens, then they're more likely to just cancel because they don't want to do it. I even had one client where I traveled all the way to their house and it was trashed, and I ended up just refusing to work that day, and I turned around and went home. What I learned in contrast to this is that my private paid clients always worked much harder. When I arrived, they were ready to work and they worked hard during our time together, and we made incredible progress. They were invested mentally and monetarily in what we were doing, and because of that, they took it more seriously. So what I do now is kind of a hybrid approach because I don't want to charge clients that I show on YouTube. I ask all of my clients that I show on YouTube to put down a $1,000 deposit for my free service. Together, we'll agree to a number of days that works for both parties, and in the event they cancel on me for a day, they forfeit their deposit. But this one simple thing of taking on the deposit changed everything for me. Not only have I never had anyone cancel, which is so different from before, but now everybody also works so much harder. And then on the last day, I return their deposit in full. That way my services can still be free, but what I found is that that act of putting down money really motivates people to take what we do more seriously. When I first started, another mistake I made was setting out to make over homes with a primary focus on interior design. But what I quickly learned is that most people don't need help with their design decisions in their home. What they really need help with is controlling the clutter. This happened with every single client in the beginning. They would ask me into their home because they were unhappy with the design, but when I'd get in there, I always came to the same conclusion, that there was just too much stuff in their home. What it came down to is that they knew what they liked, but they couldn't achieve that look in their home because there was so much clutter keeping them from getting there. Many even had decor they loved, but it was just buried underneath the clutter mountains. Over time, I pivoted to focusing on helping clients control their clutter first, and through that process, we would identify what's most important to their life and their home so that we could design it accordingly. And we could use their special pieces or design pieces that they loved that were just hiding in the clutter. It's so much more rewarding for me to help people display their sentimental items and their treasured possessions, because those are the things that tell their unique story, rather than just recommending furniture or design pieces for them to buy. It's funny to look back on this mistake because things are so different now. When I first started working with clients, I naively thought that I could declutter a full home in just a few days, and what I underestimated was just how mentally and physically exhausting decluttering actually is. And when I'm talking about days, I mean, there were many days when we would spend 12 hours working in a home. And what's funny to me about this is that even when I showed these super long days on YouTube, I got a lot of criticism and comments saying that I was going too slowly. What I realized from these comments, and keep in mind this was well over 5 years ago at this point, but at that point in time, no one was really showcasing the realistic process of decluttering publicly. It was much more popular to just show the before and speed through to the pretty after. Because I was still showcasing everything that was going on in the messy middle, I would get a lot of comments that said something like, "You're making everything worse, you should just stop." But I know ultimately they were just saying that because they were expecting the typical before and the after. But there were so many of you who told me that you love seeing the real process and you wanted to hear what the client was thinking. And I know that you guys like those long videos like we do on our Sunday series. And actually, I'm really grateful for all of the comments that said I was going too slow in the beginning, because it had me realize that what I wanted to do with the Space Maker method is show the real journey of decluttering, because real homes have real stuff and lots of emotion associated with our clutter. And that meant that I was going to embrace the slow process. And rather than go faster, I was going to go slower, because that was what you, the viewer, found most helpful. And going slow was also better for my clients. And lastly, when I started, I thought that my clients wanted those perfect Pinterest-worthy design homes. And I thought that if I didn't give those final wow-worthy aftershots, that not only would my client be disappointed with the results, but the audience would be disappointed as well. Personally, what this did was create a lot of unnecessary pressure. I felt pressure that if I couldn't deliver on what they wanted, they wouldn't be happy with my work. But the truth is, there were many times that there was no way that I could give the client what they wanted if they weren't willing to declutter more or invest more money into buying the right pieces for their space. And what I learned is that many of my clients didn't even want the Pinterest-worthy home in the first place. They loved the improvements we were making. And if they did want design changes, what they really wanted was a space that was designed to reflect their personality. So now, instead of trying to manufacture that perfect aftershot in someone's home, which may or may not be authentic to them, I focus on creating functional, honest, and calm spaces that reflect who people are now, not a filtered version of themselves. Progress looks different for every person and every home, and that's why I love showcasing people from all different walks of life who have different challenges, different needs, and different goals. And this is all the more reason to really embrace those before, during, and after stages, because as long as you're making progress, then that progress should be celebrated. Every one of these mistakes taught me something valuable, and ultimately it's because of those mistakes that the Space Maker method has grown to be what it is today. If you want to see the Space Maker method in action in real homes around the world, you can check out our Sunday series, and you can check back every Friday for these short and sweet Friday focused videos designed to help you strengthen your declutter muscle. And you can always purchase the Mindful Art of Space Making if you really want to kickstart your declutter journey. See you next week. Bye.